Hey guys, doing Lincoln Lawyers Season 2, Episode 4 today. Excited about this and also excited about the jury. If you want to join the jury, become a member, help out a great cause, Hearts and Hands for Humanity, go click on membership. It only costs $6 to do it, and you're helping out a really great cause, digging wells for kids that can't find clean water in East Africa. All right, let's see what we got.
Big middle finger from Andrew Freeman. All prosecutors strict, buried defense in paperwork. Mitchell Bondurant's high school yearbook is probably one of these boxes.
Okay, yes, it is a technique that some attorneys will use to bury the other side in paperwork, but that's actually not literal these days. Yeah, we've seen on Suits, we've seen on Lincoln Lawyer, we see it all over the place where they say, oh, you're gonna bury him in paperwork, and to make it look dramatic, they bring in boxes and boxes and boxes. I know I've harped on it 100 times. It's all digital now. Rarely, if ever, do I receive anything that is actually physical. I get a link to a video, I get links to photographs, I get links to paper documents. I almost never get anything delivered. A couple of the municipalities are still left that will actually hand you the police reports. That's it. Everybody else, yeah, fully digital. So this whole boxes and boxes situation, yeah, probably not. Also, didn't they arrest her like a week ago? How do they have this much evidence against her already?
Can you read the menu?
I come here so often, I practically know it by heart. What is it you want to know?
Oh, my boyfriend wants to know the specials.
Avocado toast.
Okay, so my question at this point is, what on earth is she trying to figure out? Because clearly that wasn't about reading a menu. I don't know if she's related to a case somehow, but I guess she wants to know about this lady's eyesight, I guess? All right, anyway.
Might be a window into the prosecution's thinking.
No, Freeman's too sneaky for that. If there was anything good in that laptop, she buried it deep and covered her tracks.
Just as a side thought, yes, I have actually had people try to bury me in discovery. The closest thing that I ever came when I very first opened my practice, before we were supposed to have a settlement conference, I receive all of a sudden a new batch of discovery, right? They're sending over their disclosures. And I go, seriously? And it, by the way, is at like 4:51 p.m., right before I'm supposed to go home. I'm like, okay. So I heard about this in law school. I knew there were attorneys that would do it, but I didn't know it was going to happen to me like the day I opened my practice. Anyway, so I dig through there and sure enough find that the other party is employed by the state and put her disclosures for her retirement in this disclosure statement and really didn't want us to know about it before the settlement. So, or wanted to be able to claim, oh, we told you about it. You knew about it at that time, right? Because they told us at 4:51 the day before. Anyway, so it was buried with about, I don't know, if I remember right, it was 80 or 90 pages of things. Not that much discovery, but 80 or 90 pages at 4:51 the day before the settlement conference, quite a bit. But we dug through, found the stuff about it, and anyway, we did get the case settled the next day, and fun fact, my client wasn't actually interested in her retirement. They didn't know that. We didn't tell them that. Anyway, moving on.
Margot Schaefer. She was Bondurant's receptionist. She saw Lisa walking away from the office at the same time as the murder. That is opportunity.
Lisa was at the farmer's market down the street. She goes there every week. As far as a witness, Cisco, what do we have?
Okay. Why is Lorna being a great attorney here, even though I know she's not an attorney yet? But why is she being a great attorney here and being a great attorney for their client? Because you have to be able to see the case from the other side. You have to be able to look at it completely objectively and say, where's our weakest spot? Where's the spot where they are just going to tear us apart? What makes us look the worst? And so Lorna is going, this is the actual case against us. This is what we have to defend. Because if you look at it subjectively or look at it like, hey, I know you're innocent and we're going to prove it, you see the facts differently and you don't see them for the defense perspective that you need to see them from. So Lorna here is actually doing both the client and Mickey a great favor by outlining the case as she sees it so far, which they probably have barely had a chance to dig through those hundreds of boxes, but outlining the case saying this is what they have, she's got motive, she has opportunity. So she's doing a great job.
Which is why I tested her eyesight this morning.
You what?
I wanted to prove that she saw what she said she saw, so I may or may not have stalked her at the super cute local coffee shop, and turns out she has eagle eyes.
Again, she's being a great attorney. Should she have been talking to a witness? No, she should not have been talking to a witness. You got to set up a witness interview. That part's not being a great attorney. That part's being a sneaky little paralegal and doing stuff you shouldn't do. But seeing, okay, can we have the defense of, well, maybe she didn't actually see our client right. Maybe she needs glasses. Maybe that was a great question. And now they've eliminated that defense. They got to scratch that off and say, okay, now we actually have to start building from square one, building something else, seeing what our case is.
Hey, Terrell, what's going on?
Oh, Mickey, thank you for coming. I'm sorry I didn't call sooner. I thought it was just some silly kid shit, but the judge said Angelica could hit with a felony.
First offense, juvenile court. She'll probably get community service, and it's wiped off her record when she turns 18.
It's one of my favorite things about Lincoln Lawyer is that even when he's got the big case, he's still working other cases. That's totally normal life. You've got projects. I was finishing a project today that I'd been working on for a month and a half that we got to get turned into the court here in the next few days. And the whole time I've had to go to court for, my criminal defense cases. I've been drafting trusts here for my estate planning clients. It's like the world keeps turning even when you have the big case. So they get that right on this show.
Terrell, I haven't done a juvenile case since I was public defender. That's 15 years ago. Sure you don't want somebody else?
No way, Mickey Holler. I need the big guns for my baby.
Okay, and also, some people might be watching going, but it's criminal defense, right? No, actually, juvenile is way different from adult criminal defense. The offers that they're going to make, yes, they are charged with violating a criminal code, right? So it has that in common. But the programs that they're going to offer, how it's presented to the juvenile, the court process itself, who's allowed in the courtroom and who's not, all vastly different from an adult criminal system. So when he says, man, I haven't done a juvenile case in so long, I'm going to tell you, I've only done a few of them in my career, and it was different enough that I went, yeah, I'm going to refer those out to other people when they come in. Unless it's, a return client or something like that, or somebody that I know that I'm really just trying to help out, something like that, I don't typically do. They don't even call them criminal cases. They call them juvenile delinquency cases. So yeah, they're not my forte. And clearly they're not Mickey's forte either.
Your career has certainly taken off since then.
As is yours, Your Honor.
Oh, well, you can drop the formality. We like to keep things casual here. It's Judge Sandy.
So that's also pretty legit. They do keep things extremely informal in juvenile law, and they'll talk to the kid sitting there like as if, regular person to person, a whole lot more than a judge is going to do. But when I say, yeah, this lady hates you, Mickey, I don't know what yet, but I'm going to tell you, if they're playing it real, the only time that a judge really remembers attorneys is if they totally love them or totally hate them. The medium ones, they'll be like, yeah, I think I've seen this guy before, but they won't light up like that when they come into the courtroom. So yeah, my guess, we're going to find out this judge hates Mickey.
I've no doubt you are very busy with all your press commitments, but the next time you are late, I will find you in contempt. And you can expect the maximum fine.
Okay, and I have never seen a judge threaten someone with contempt for being late once. Yeah, if they were habitually late several times in a row, and especially also remember, juvenile calendar is more time sensitive. In other words, if you're scheduled for 9 o'clock, you're actually scheduled for 9 o'clock. Your adult calendar, if you're scheduled for 9 o'clock, so are 30 other people, right? So 9 o'clock may not mean 9 o'clock, it means before lunch at some point. And if you're scheduled at 1:30, it means after lunch at some point. But there are cases where they say, no, we need this one at 9:15. We've got this other high profile case. We want to get that one out of the way. And then case, we want to do that one before we move on to this other, high profile, very important, whatever. Juvenile, yes, they're a little more time certain, but maybe not so much that a judge is going to threaten an attorney with contempt if they're late one time. They might just say, look, it's time certain in juvenile court, and so, you're going to need to be on time from here on out. That won't be a problem, will it? Right? But hey, it's dramatic, and the smile on her face is priceless, so yeah, it's fun to watch.
So off-white at her store, and he died, and I wanted to honor him. He put words and quotes on his designs to comment on things. And I see pink and white walls all over LA.
Okay, so my problem with this already would be that Mickey would be saying, stop talking, right? Probably even the judge would be saying, let your attorney talk for you, right? Everything that she's saying on the record, look, anybody that's watched Cops, say it with me, can and will be used against you, right? Take your Fifth Amendment, right? Take it seriously. Be quiet. Don't say any of that stuff. She just admitted that she did in fact paint the wall, and she admitted it on the record of the court. You really don't want to do that. Anyway, so probably a great attorney like Mickey at this point would be saying, no, just let's be quiet, sweetie. We can talk about that after, you know, or you know, don't talk right now. Anyway.
Can I ask for a continuance then? I have a full docket and...
So do I, Mr. Haller. And I can't afford a Lincoln. I'll give you 1 day.
And a 1-day contingency just came onto the case. It didn't sound like we were at trial here. This seemed like a pretrial conference. So you probably could very easily get a 30-day continuance. Even if it had already been continued a couple of times, which it didn't sound like it did, then you probably very easily get a continuance. Allow them time to prepare. Also, you know, she's saying the store owner that the wall has been tagged several times and she wants to make an example of her. It's like, well, is making an example of her, making an example of this person who actually painted it a solid color and did not actually tag the wall, but really the best thing you want to do? But anyway, Nikki plays this out. That'll be fun.
It's a new mandate from Cardone, saving department time and resources, blah, blah, blah. We'll go down to voluntary manslaughter, midterm, 6 years.
Okay, that is a massive jump from murder 1. 6 years for voluntary manslaughter down from murder 1, which murder 1 here in Arizona, you've got you know, life sentence, mandatory. So I don't know what it is out there in California, but still 6 years down from you know, theoretical life sentence available. So that right there would be telling me, okay, they're not feeling good about their case at this point. They've discovered something that they think actually weakens their case quite a bit. So that at this point I'd be wondering and probably rejecting the plea just because it seems suspiciously soft. So let's see what Mickey's gonna do.
Talking to the witness on Lisa's TRO.
Okay, that's good. If we can discredit that witness, then the TRO is dead in the water, all right? That's a rung out of their ladder, but this is the whole ladder. Let's knock it down, all right?
So that sent up his yellow flag, red flag, whatever we're seeing at this point, saying, yeah, way too soft of an offer. So the prosecutor is saying, oh, well, we have to offer everybody to, you know, what did she say, you know, preserve resources and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's legit, but you don't have to come down from murder 1, potential life sentence to 6 years. That's a massive jump. So yeah, I would be thinking the same thing Mickey is, something's wrong with the case.
You were the only witness, Walter, who claimed to have seen Lisa attacking Bondurant. And this whole TRO rested on your word.
It's not just my word.
Interestingly enough, it sounds like they got, and they're calling it a TRO. Here in Arizona, we call it an order of protection or an injunction against harassment. In Arizona, both are order of protection and injunction against harassment, and in every other state that I've ever seen the statute for, you actually have to have a series of events, but it makes it sound like they base theirs on one single event. So, possibility? Yeah, maybe. It'd be kind of outside the typical.
Every trial's a gamble. If we lose Lisa, it's life without parole.
That's a very familiar conversation, aside from the life without parole part of it, because I don't handle murder cases, but the whole I'm absolutely innocent, and which I have had people I've represented that absolutely are innocent. And I kept on talking about this plea and how low it is and saying, man, they must feel like they have a really big problem in their case. And the case that I'm kind of identifying with in my mind, I represented a guy, I've talked about it on other videos, that got accused of armed robbery, and we were able to show that he was on the complete opposite side of the Valley of the Sun when the crime occurred. We were able to show that who he was with, that he was with some relatives, text messages between them saying, hey, what part of the store are you in? Because they were in the same store at the time. And so, and photographs proving, yeah, he was over on the other side of town. And we also subpoenaed the records from Verizon or whoever his cell phone provider was, and showed that the towers he was pinging on were way over on the other side of town. So, but the point of all of that is that when they offered him an initial plea, okay, armed robbery is a felony 2 in Arizona. That's the same level as attempted murder, 1 level under murder 1, okay? So it's really high even if you have no criminal history, which he did not. The plea that they offered was 6 months in the county jail. And I had the exact same red flags, exact same fireworks going off, going, wait a dadgum minute, what is the problem with your case? And then started looking into it and going, yeah, because you don't even have a case. At any rate, we were able to exonerate him, but at the same time, I had to take that to him. I had to say, look, they've offered you a plea. I'm going to explain it to you, and then you can just tell me what you want to do with it. I'm not going to try to convince you one way or the other. And he just, you know, very reasonably said, okay, what is it? Said 6 months in county jail, probation to follow. No. Okay. And we were done with the conversation. That's it. So yeah, it's a familiar conversation, especially when somebody knows they're innocent. Unfortunately, I already saw season 4, so, you know, but when somebody is insisting that they're innocent, let's go with that. It's a familiar conversation.
Now, I know you've recommended a diversion. The problem with the diversion is that probation goes on your record. Now, I'm gonna ask one more time.
Okay, a diversion here in Arizona means that it doesn't go on your record. A diversion here in Arizona means that it finishes and the case is dismissed. So there could be a period of theoretical probation where they do the program and then they say, okay, now for a year, be a good boy or girl, and then we will dismiss it. But it ends with dismissal, no record. So it's possible the diversion program's different in California, but I don't know what the point of the diversion would be if it doesn't end with it not going on your record.
Opens you up to a lawsuit, which I will happily file. That's if you really want to continue this dispute.
Just give me a second.
Take all the time you need.
I have no, okay. Great question from my producer, Alex here. Is this actually accurate? I know nothing about copyright law. I'm gonna guess that it's gotta be no, because it was actually on someone else's building. I don't know how you could possibly copyright art that exists on the side of somebody else's building. But I don't know, I don't know. I know absolutely nothing about copyright law. Copyright and patent law are not bar tested. And so a lot of times people will come to me and ask copyright and patent questions. They're not bar tested. I didn't have to take a class on them in law school, and so I didn't. So I know literally nothing. But my guess would be no. On side of somebody's building, no way. Did you do some research?
Land doesn't fall under it?
Under the land or standard okay, but that's like if it's like the facade of your building. You don't have the facade of your building copywritten,
yeah,
right? Because that would probably belong to the architect who designed it. Yeah, okay, so that makes sense, but it doesn't actually tell us if somebody comes up and paints the side of your building, do they now, without your permission, do they now own the copyright to that? I suppose they might own the copyright to the art, even though they don't actually own where it is.
It still applies to original artwork, even if it is painted on private property without permission.
Gotta be kidding me. Redonkulous.
Yeah, the artist holds the copyright to the image.
Okay, to the image. Okay, no, as I'm thinking it through, that actually makes sense because they would own the copyright to the image, even though they don't actually own the place where the original art existed.
But it says the property owner owns the physical building or canvas. If the art was placed there without permission, it is vandalism, and the owner has a legal right to paint over, remove, or destroy the physical artwork.
Dadgum, so they actually did their research on this. Wow, good job, Lincoln lawyer. Okay. So it does sound that that's actually legit. So, I mean, and he's saying we're going to sue for your use of our copywritten artwork because you posted it with Robert Ory standing in front of it on your Instagram account. So you're using our copywritten artwork in your advertising and you didn't have our permission to do that. So essentially saying, hey, we drop and you drop. By the way, here in Arizona, even as she said, yeah, I don't want to press charges, it's not in her hands anymore. It's in the hands of the state. However, if you have a victim that doesn't want to cooperate, that definitely tends to move the ball in the right direction.
Terrell called me. I thought he was crazy.
He said, you really want me to do what?
No, crazy was watching you sink that game for a win.
I hate that guy in the most respectful way. I mean, so many last-second three-pointers against my Phoenix Suns. I can't get over it. But anyway. He's a great baller. That is The Lincoln Lawyer Season 2, Episode 4. Hey, remember to let us know where do you think we're going next, and if you want a final say in where you think we should go after Lincoln Lawyer ends, join the jury. Members actually get a vote and get to decide which one we should follow in next. So, all right, we'll see you next time.